Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good evening. My name is Steve Goldstein. I'll be the moderator for this evening's debate. The Citizens Clean Elections Commission is the sponsor of this event. As the state's voter education agency, Clean Elections is the official sponsor of Arizona debates, so voters have the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates, ask questions on the issues that matter most to them, and vote informed. If you're watching this debate live, you can submit a question at any time by emailing debates@kc-a.com. That's debates@kc-a.com. You can also text to 480-302-1810 or call 480-937-1253. We may not get to all audience questions, but we certainly will do our best. Tonight we'll be hearing a candidate in Legislative District 2, which includes North Phoenix and Cave Creek. As this is a primary election, candidates are competing against others in their own party to become the official party nominee. All registered voters, including independent voters, can vote in the primary. This evening, we'll hear from a Republican candidate for Senate for approximately 30 minutes. The candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement and 1 minute for a closing statement, and up to a couple of minutes for responses to voter questions. But since this will be a one-on-one conversation, we'll have some flexibility on that. A reminder, this is a respectful, courteous, and professional environment. Our goal tonight is to connect candidates with voters so the electorate may vote informed. The candidate running for state Senate who is joining us tonight is Republican Josh Barnett. Shauna Bullock was invited to participate but declined, and let's bring in Senate candidate Josh Barnett. Mr. Barnett, good evening. Thank you so much for being here. You have 1 minute for an opening statement.
Yes, I want to thank you in the Clean Elections Commission for the opportunity, to be here to address the people in District 2. My name is Josh Barnett. I'm seeking the Arizona State Senate seat in District 2. I'm dedicated to securing our border, protecting school choice, ESA programs, reforming our election system is big on my list. The current situation with high gas and food prices, flawed and illegally run elections, in which these open borders are having a significant financial impact on Arizona specifically. And according to some different sites that I've seen, upwards of $3.2 billion annually. And that's just simply unsustainable, not only for Arizona, but for the nation in general. Sadly, our district has not received the representation it deserves, but I aim to change that. A strong conservative to me does not vote against the Republican caucus to repeal the abortion law or in favor of shutting down public comment. And they also do not support using machines over a hand count, as was done at the MCRC meeting and as my primary opponent has done in the past. I'm committed to representing the will of the people, not just my own. My purpose is to serve people of District 2 as outlined in the Constitution as a servant, not a leader. And elected officials have long overlooked the voices of the people. But this is going to change under my leadership. I'm grateful for the endorsement and support of Corporate Commissioner Jim O'Connor's Golden Ticket, the AZ Patriots Group, and the National Freedom Coalition Group. A vote for Josh Barnett is a vote for the people, and I truly mean that. I'm here to serve the will of the people, and that's what I intend to do. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And many of the topics you brought up in your opening statement, we're certainly going to try to get to in the next 30 minutes or so. Let's start off with the issue of abortion. As you know, an effort to firm up abortion rights in Arizona will probably be on the November ballot as 800,000 signatures were turned in. So that's even with some concerns that may come up, it will probably pass legal muster, though we don't know for sure. What's your opinion on this proposed ballot measure?
The ballot measure itself to me is insane. It allows late-term abortion all the way up till birth. It's something that I can never even comprehend that to be okay. I think there's a where we were at with the 15 weeks from just a few years ago was something that the general population out there, the majority could swallow and tolerate. As far as the far right and the far left, I think that's kind of where we're at with Nancy Bardo getting that done here in Arizona. Me personally, I'm a Catholic. I believe in conception. But again, it's not just about what I believe. It's about what the will of the people is in my district and what they believe. And that's what I'm there to represent. It's like I said, it's not just about me, although a lot of the people in office think it's just about them. I've seen it very often over the years. And I'm talking Republican and Democrat. And, and it's backwards right now with who they think they work for. And that's what I also intend to change that culture in the legislature.
So if this measure does not pass, let's just say it makes the ballot, does not pass, would you, as someone who's again representing your constituents, would you be someone who would the 15-week ban be acceptable to you as someone who is in, even if it doesn't necessarily jive with your personal views, would the 15-week ban be acceptable to you as an elected official?
I accept whatever the people want. And I'm not trying to cop out. People know me. No, I will just speak my mind on what I want to say. But it's true. I will accept what the people want. If the majority of the people in my districts come to me and say, hey, we wanted a 12, we wanted an 8. Hey, we want a heartbeat bill. We want to, we're going to push forward, or we're going to see what we can do to accomplish that. But I am going to listen to the people and what they want. And I believe that's what every legislator should be doing at this point. It's not just about them. It's about what the people want in their district. And every state's different. Every district's a little different. I understand that. And, a lot of people want the rape, incest, mother's life endangered issues, stillborn situations that are, fairly rare, but to be addressed. And I do feel that they need to be addressed. But a mother's life, for example, after 20, 21 weeks, why are we just performing a C-section and trying to save the baby as well? Why are we just dismembering the baby at that point? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I think there's stuff that we can do to amend maybe what we currently have on the books, possibly, if that's what the people want. And that's what my ears to the ground. The people that know me, I'm a grassroots guy, and I'm going to listen to the people.
I want to bring up a name of someone who, this is not to ask you whether you support him or not, but I was lucky enough to have a one-on-one conversation with Sheriff Mark Lamb, who's running for the U.S. Senate. And one of the questions I asked him was, okay, are you in a situation where you maintain your conservative principles, but do you see areas for compromise, or does that go against what your conservative principles may be? Because some people will say, well, that still holds with what I am, but I am willing to realize that not every person in my district or in the state agrees with me. Where do you see any hope for generally, not necessarily the abortion issue, anything else, nonpartisanship, bipartisanship? Are there any areas there that have some wiggle room for you? I don't mean wiggle room, again, not giving up your conservative principles, but saying like, yeah, I could work with a moderate Democrat on that particular issue to help the state.
Well, it depends on what it is. Common sense is common sense, and it's lacking severely right now and across the board in state legislatures, across the nation. We have a major problem, whether it's the border, allowing illegal immigrants to come in by the millions, 15+ million illegal immigrants since Biden's been in office. That's insane. That's to me, that there's not one thing anybody could tell me that is going to make me change my mind on that issue. We need to put a stop to it. We need legal immigration. We need to make it more efficient. I agree with all of that, but we have to enforce our laws. We can't let every single person that claims they want to be here for asylum or whatever the reason is, they have to wait in line like everybody else. I've never met a legal immigrant that is for illegal immigration. Never met one, and I know a lot of them. And I never met one either from Romania, from Mexico, from Ukraine. Many people I've talked to, and first thing I ask them, so what do you think about all this illegal immigration? And they get super mad about it. They're like, why did I do it the right way? And these people think they can just come here and get cell phones, get Visa cards with money on them, and all this stuff for free, and milking the system. When I came here, it worked my rear end off, and it's not fair. It's not fair at all. And I do believe that everybody talks about the great replacement theory and all this stuff, that you're conspiracy theorists. But I think a lot of that has kind of come to a culmination, that a lot of it is coming to be true. We have a situation. I know Elon Musk has spoken out numerous times on the situation, as well as many conservatives that are out there that believe that they're going to just try to grant amnesty to all the illegals and allow them to become voters. I was kind of saying a similar thing years ago, that there's always a reason behind what they're doing. And the reason, when they tell you that you're a conspiracist or that you're racist or that you're whatever, it usually means you're right. And much like COVID, I believe that I'm right on this issue as well.
Well, Mr. Reynolds, let's stick with that topic. Do you see a balance? Because obviously a lot of people, and that could be people on the right or the left, whether they want to use the word border crisis, they have concerns. They think that there is unfettered, undocumented immigration, illegal immigration, however you want to phrase it. But is there, do you foresee something? I know this is complicated because it's supposed to be a federal issue, But are there things you think the state legislature can do that balances the fact that Mexico is an incredibly important trading partner for Arizona, but also making sure there is more border security? Do you see a balance there?
Well, there has to be a balance, but to me, we have the leverage over Mexico when it comes to trade. I think we can dictate where that goes and how that goes, not the other way around. And first of all, so I think that's kind of a non-issue. Us without Mexico, can it make a big difference? Yes, but them, they need us more than we need them. And I think we have to go about it in a sense that if they're not going to work with us on the border, then maybe there's ways we can go around, like Trump was putting huge tariffs on cars and different stuff to come in from Mexico and that kind of thing. Like, we're going to get it somehow, some way. So you might as well work with us and get the border under control. And Trump had it under control, relatively under control, when they sent, I think it was 40,000 troops, Mexican troops, out of the border to help with that situation. With Title 42 was actually being utilized. And the first thing Biden did when he came into office was get rid of Trump's executive orders and get rid of the stay in Mexico situation. And now it's just stay in America, and apparently stay in America forever. But as a state, we definitely, money talks. And anytime you want to, what I found, especially in politics, if you want something to happen, pull their funding, and they're going to come to their knees, and we're going to have a real conversation and a real potential compromise on something. But it usually doesn't happen until you got to pull those funds away. And we've seen at the federal level, I've seen at the state level, and that's just how it is. It's how this all works. It's all where the money is and how it goes. Follow the money situation.
Okay, so I want to follow up on that. So some of the things you're saying, you'd like Arizona lawmakers to try to implement something, or at some point at the government level, because when you mentioned former President Trump, obviously he has more tools at his disposal since it's a lot of federal things going on there. So would that also apply to Arizona trade with Mexico, for Arizona to say to Mexico, listen, you need to do something about this because you've got too many undocumented immigrants coming in and affecting our cities?
Yeah, we just had a mother and daughter got kidnapped within the last few weeks down there. This is an ongoing problem. And like I said before, all they want to do, everybody from when we had the trifecta with Republican control at the federal level, at the state level, you name it, they just kick the can down the road. They never implement anything that's going to stick and actually stay in place. And I think Trump was on the right path to doing that until Biden came in and blew it all up. And we went back to wide open borders, fentanyl pouring in, people dying from fentanyl by the hundreds of thousands. China's sitting back just laughing at us at this point. And, honestly, we're a disgrace to the rest of the world right now with how we are. No other country has an open border like we do. At least nothing throughout Europe, throughout the major nations in the world. Nobody has an open border. So I can't go to Mexico and just say, I'm staying here. Hey, I want free stuff. Give me some free welfare. That's not how it works. And for us to think, or anyone to think that that's okay here, it just blows my mind that the lack of logic behind what they're saying.
Let's move on to inflation. So Arizonans have been dealing with some of the highest inflation rates in the country. If you're to become a state lawmaker, what are some things that come to mind for you to try to ease the burdens on Arizona families?
Well, I know Alex Cullen and many others, Joe Chaplik, have talked about, getting rid of the different taxes that are available, even from a temporary basis, whether it's the gas tax, the food tax. Grocery prices are out of control. I go to buy beef now for me and my family, and my food bill is just astronomical, at this point. I just drove to see some friends for the July 4th weekend. And, from here and then going to California for a day, it's over $5 a gallon gas in California. Coming back here, it's a little better at $3.70-ish, but it's nothing like it was under Trump. And that's what happens when you enact policies that Biden did on day one, and you're dwindling our supply down to a bare minimum and buying oil from countries that hate us instead of just producing our own. And we do it better and cleaner. So it doesn't make any sense to buy oil from a country out there that doesn't like us and give them our money for something that we need when we can produce it ourselves and do it better and cleaner.
That's fair when it comes to your philosophy, but if you were a state lawmaker, is there something you'd like to see, legislation you'd like to see passed at the state level here?
Well, the one thing I believe we have to do again is the taxes. I think that's something that we can always attack. I prefer to see a zero state tax, like you have in Florida and Texas. I think that's something that we've been working towards from two legislations ago to now. About they were 2.5. I think I would like to see it at zero. I would like to see it at zero, and I think that's something that we can do. And like I said, we have to look at the budget. There's a lot of things I'm sure, like most budgets that you look at, that can be redlined out immediately, and money can be used towards other things. Whether it's the Department of Education, for example, is always complaining about not having enough money. It's not a money issue. It's maladministration is the problem, and I truly believe that. And I think if we audit those districts, those school districts, you're going to see money being paid for things that are completely out of this world. We should not be paying for certain things that are happening. All the money is going to the top superintendents. The money should, if anything, be going to the teacher salaries. That's where it should be going. And we have a big problem in Arizona in regards to the fight with ESA school choice versus the student union the teacher unions here in Arizona.
That's a great segue. Let's talk a little bit more about that. ESA saw expansion. Obviously, it's been really important issue for those in the Republican Party to see how much they can go, because obviously school choice Arizona was a pioneer in school choice a number of decades ago. So where do you stand on that? Are there any restrictions you'd like to place, not on the number of ESAs that are available, because I would suspect you would say no, but I'm curious about one thing that I've heard some conservatives say is that they want as much ESA expansion as possible. I think it's a wonderful thing, school choice, but they also want to make sure that standards are fair, that there is the same sort of, let's say, check and balance to make sure that, again, the standards are the same as what more traditional public schools are required, at least in statute, to face. How would you feel about that as ESAs expand? Would you like to see some checks and balances there?
Yeah, I think most things would need some sort of checks and balances. It depends. It depends on what they're talking about. Some of the things I hear, I completely disagree with. Some things I hear, that just makes sense to me. That we should have checks and balances in regards to where the money is going, what it's going for. But for me, it's just protecting school choice and protecting the ESA program in general. You can look at the data. They have the money it takes for ESA for a student around $7,500, and the money that goes to a public school would be $15,000. It's double the money. And from what I've seen, when you look at the proficiency of English and math between the public schools and these charter schools, private schools, whatever, they're night and day. You're looking at like 20% proficiency in English and math at a certain public school that's taking in $15,000 a student, versus the school that's more like 80 or 90% proficiency, taking in half the money. So, where do you draw the line? When is it time for the teacher union to step up and say, we need to do a better job? The money's here. Why are we constantly failing? And that's a problem that I don't really hear people talking a lot about. They just want to point the finger and blame each other. And again, they kick the can down the road every single legislative session. It seems like it's kicked down the road. But a lot of the problem is, again, people don't want to get in a room and just debate and talk and maybe come up with a solution. And if you walk away with no solution, at least we're trying. Maybe we're working towards something. But, I truly believe it's not a money issue. It's a maladministration issue. I believe an audit can show a lot of that as well. And that's kind of how I feel about the whole situation.
Let me ask one more education question, and that is, you mentioned teacher pay. Is there something, when Governor Ducey was in office, obviously there was the 20 by 2020, which was considered mostly successful. As we move forward, though, and everything gets more expensive, we already talked about inflation. Is there one idea that comes to mind for you, or something that's already been out there that you support that would help keep Arizona teachers in the classroom? A certain level of increase in pay you'd accept. Again, maybe going back to checks and balances with that as well.
Yeah, I think it's something we should look at. I believe that teachers or police should be paid better as well. And it's like anything. It's like any industry. If you want good people, you got to pay well. If there's good pay in something, you're going to get better people to come apply for that job, and then not only apply but stay there, right? So there's not all this constant turnover. That's definitely something to look into. I don't know specifically what, but I know Matt Gress was working on some stuff as well last session to increase pay with teachers, et cetera. And I would say in general, I lean towards increasing pay and helping the teachers because, like I said, if you trim the fat off our budget in different areas, there's definitely money there that could be used for that that I feel is being just maladministered right now.
I want to ask you one question related to specifically the state budget. I'm not going to ask you to do a line item for me, not at all. But when you mentioned the fact about getting people in a room, if you disagree and then you walk away and nothing happens, okay, at least you talked, at least you're in the room. There's some criticism of the budget that was crafted by lawmakers, and then of course the governor ultimately signed it. And I'm going to ask you more in terms of the way it was put together, because traditionally what happens is you get the legislative leaders, they huddle with the governor, whether Democrat, Republican, whatever, and then it's sort of done, and the rank and file really don't necessarily know what's going on, and that's 24 hours, you got to vote on this. How would you feel about that as a member of your caucus, or generally if you were in the legislature? Would you want to see, some frankly more open conversation about these things?
I think if we want to get anywhere as a state, that absolutely has to happen. It's like any industry, any business. I own a small business here. If there's an issue, I sit down with my people and we discuss it. And we might not see eye to eye on everything, but we might find one thing that we agree on, and we'll implement change. I believe also, like you brought up the 24-hour period, which is ridiculous. They do that in the federal level as well. Read 5,000 pages in 48 hours and then have to make a decision on it. And then they just hide things and they poison pill everything. But I thought Alex Cullinan, again, did a great job saying, listen, I'm not just going to say okay to this when I haven't had an opportunity to read it and go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And I would definitely be on Alex's side with that. I'm definitely not going to be given a yes vote for something that is as significant and as important as our budget. And I think that all of us should be in holding hands with that situation. Even the Democrats shouldn't want to sign anything that they don't really read through or know what's in it. And I think that's, again, that's your job as a legislator. And if you're not willing to take the time to read it, maybe you should go find something else to do.
Let's talk about elections, because I know you have concerns about election security. As you run right now, I'm going to use the terms free and fair. Do you expect the 2024 election in Arizona, in Maricopa County, to be free and fair? And if not, why?
I have major concerns about the legality of the upcoming election. And the reason why is because of the past two elections, where we've had, 59% or 61% of the tabulators on election day not working. How many people were disenfranchised? How many people just went home? I'm not waiting in line any longer. My kids got a soccer game or a baseball game, much like somebody in my situation. When you have kids and you got a lot of stuff going on, or they come and they wait in the morning for 4 hours and like, I can't, I'm done, I'm leaving. We don't know that number. We don't know that number. It's an unknown. Is it more than? I would venture to guess that it's probably a lot more than what Abe allegedly lost by. Well under 250 now, and so. There's that concern. There's the concern of mail-in ballots going out, being over-mailed to dirty voter rolls. Every time, I know Justin Heap has talked about it numerous times, saying, when I'm in a room, hey, how many people here receive more ballots than registered voters in the House? And like a third to a half of the room raises their hands every time. That's a problem. And that's why we need a recorder in there to do the job of the recorder and make sure the voter rolls are clean, and that doesn't happen, or very, very, very little, right? I mean, you're never going to be 100%, but we want it at least 99. We have technology, we have things we can do that's not being done, whether it's being purposely done or the intent behind it. I don't really care. I just know it's not being legally run, and that's what I have a problem with. 16650 Arizona statute was completely obliterated in the 2022 election. as far as signature verification and the one signature you're allowed to verify to. I could go on and on about the legalities, and I always speak about the legalities of it because I'm not going to get into all the fringe theories and everything else. But we do have tally reports now that were FOIA'd that don't match up to Maricopa counties. So ballots that went through the tabulator in Gilbert Christian, for example, do not, I think it was 1105, do not match up. It doesn't say 1105 on the tally tapes. So that's another issue that has been brought to light by an attorney, Leo D'Onofrio, recently in the last 5-6 months. We have a lot of problems that I believe can be solved, and I'm an advocate for no machines on election day, in person, like we used to. Vote in your precinct, count your precinct on a paper ballot with an ID, and by the time the night's over, hey, precinct 1 has 1,000 votes, 1,000 ballots. It has 800 for Trump and 200 for Biden. Not being biased, but we're going to know who won that precinct. Precinct 1 then goes to MTech and say, hey, here's our numbers. You add them up, by midnight who won. It's very simple, and I believe it eliminates potential problems. And I'm okay with absentee ballots. I'm okay with absentee ballots because you have to have at least some form of identification to receive it. But even those, I would like to see them notarized. I'd like to know who's voting on, for that ballot. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's the fair thing to do across the board for everybody, so that when we have the results come in, we don't have Democrats back when Trump won the first time saying the machines are flipping votes. I got a 12-minute video of Democrats talking about the machines are flipping votes, this and that, the same thing that was being said in 2020. And how do we eliminate that? Just get rid of the machine. Just get rid of them. We can do this in precincts. We can do this in one evening. By midnight, it can be done. There's reasons why other countries out there have gotten rid of machines. Anything that's electronic can be hacked, period. The Federal Reserve was just hacked not more than a month ago. So anything can be hacked. And if you don't think that it can, I don't know what else to tell you. You're not living in reality in my mind if you don't believe these things can be hacked and manipulated. If they wanted to, if there's a nefarious actor, it can be manipulated from both sides. And I don't believe it's just one-sided. This has been going on for a while, and I don't believe this is just a one-sided issue.
Let me ask you one follow-up next. I want to get to a couple more things before we let you go. There are, and these are elected officials, people who work in elections, who have said that what you're proposing, in terms of the time you're talking about, Mr. Barnett, would be really, it would take actually even longer than it does. So and they're saying that the general public is already complaining that it takes too long to count votes in this state as it is. You're actually convinced, though, I'm talking about accuracy and speed. So I understand what you're saying about it being more accurate. Some people would argue that's not the case, but if you believe that, great. But as far as the speed, that doesn't seem to be quite as universally believed. So what are your thoughts on, because that's a lot to ask. You vote that day and then things are counted by midnight?
Well, you're only counting 600 to 1,000 ballots.
So you're saying per voting area, per precinct, no problem.
Yeah,
okay.
And for Richard to say anything otherwise, he's just lying through his teeth. If he thinks the machines are okay, then why the tally tapes we got don't match up to the machine? We have proof of it. So he can sit there and say what he wants, and they can sit there and say what they want. And none of this has been heard in court, by the way. But I have eyes and ears, and I trust my eyes and ears and what I see. And if you're trying to tell me, how long did it take Richard to count our ballots and our votes last election? It was like 3 weeks later. You're trying to tell me we can't count 1,000 ballots in 3 weeks in each individual precinct? I don't believe that at all. I think he's just flat out lying. And I know it can be counted. I could count it by myself in one evening. So it's a very simple process. We actually had my opponent voted against it at the MCRC meeting. We had I think about 2,500-ish people at that meeting, and they voted on whether we're going to count with machines or by hand. And my opponent raised her hand or her little yellow card to use machine. And I absolutely said, no way, we're going to use it by hand. We had it all set up in the back. The votes went to the back. They counted them up. and it was done in like, I think, an hour and 15 minutes. It was done. 2,500, which is double what a precinct would be, and they had it done in an hour and 15, or maybe even a little less than that. And we showed them exactly how and why in the progression of how it's done, where you have a Democrat, Republican, Independent, counting them, and you just go by batches, and you count rate. Some people are tied to certain races, and you have it done. It's not that difficult. And for Richard, it's funny to me when I hear the BOS say, "Oh, it takes too long, and or it costs too much money." These people waste money on stuff constantly, in my eyes. And for them to make it about a money thing is a complete joke, and the timing thing is a complete joke. Like I said, a precinct can count the ballots probably in 2 hours compared to their 3 weeks on their machines that still don't tally the ballots up properly, and we have the proof of all of that. So it's eliminate problems. That's my goal. I want to eliminate issues and problems and potential problems. Let's have a fair election, a legally run election for everybody. If a Democrat wins, so be it. You know, if you lose, at least you know you lost in a legitimate election. Same thing for the Democrats and Republicans. You know, at least you can take it, and the people can and have faith in their election system. Because right now, I'm telling you, there's not a lot of faith and trust in our election system, especially with Stephen Richard running at the helm.
Let me ask you one final question on this topic then. If whether it's the Board of Supervisors or the state legislature spending money on other things, would you be up for redirecting some budget money to county elections directors so maybe they could hire more people to be at the precincts to do the county you want to do? Or are you talking about just volunteers doing it?
I think there would be plenty of volunteers. Honestly, I don't think we'd have to hire anybody. I think the people on both sides would be more than happy to sit down and count those ballots, you know, together. And I don't think that would be an issue. You know, they try to make everything an issue. But I can't imagine for the life of me that Democrats and Republicans cannot come up with people to count the ballots with something that's so important. You would actually have to turn people away because you'd have too many people wanting to come help.
Okay. We've just got a couple minutes left. So let me go to one question from a viewer. You and I were talking earlier about the abortion measure, but there are going to be other measures presumably on the ballot in November. And the phrase you used a few times was legislature kicks the can down the road. In general, what's your level of support? Not even talking about specific issue, just general support for grassroots voter initiatives when the legislature either hasn't acted on it or there are members of the public that say, I want to get this to the public. I'm going to try it. Do you have a general point of view on voter ballot measures?
I'm actually a supporter of initiatives from the legislature. I think, you know, but again, it comes down to how the elections run and how they tallied up. That's a big problem because it even affects the ballot initiatives. But the initiatives, again, anytime I believe we can put the power back to the people where it belongs, I'm perfectly fine with doing that. But again, I want to have our elections fixed first because do I trust the process or whether it's a yes or no vote? Right now, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in it. But, you know, it's something that I do believe in. And I do believe that the ballot measures that are out there that I've seen out there from the Republican side are good, solid initiatives for the people to decide.
Let me ask you just one more broad question before your closing statement. We obviously live in a place that I've lived here for more than 40 years. Anybody who lives here for a while thinks about how beautiful Arizona is. But we also know that our population's growing. We want to have enough water. We want to have enough energy to make it work. That's been one of those things that over the years, at least, has been considered either bipartisan, nonpartisan issue. How big a priority do you think that should be for the legislature, for the governor? If you were to be in the legislature, whatever point of view you have, we all want to maintain this great quality of life we have in Arizona. How much of a priority would water be for you? Would generally environment, working with folks all across the board on that?
Well, I always look at it like this, and I hear, you know, both sides of the issue. I think Alex Cullinan, again, has a great view on water and what we should be doing in Arizona. Unfortunately, Katie Hobbs keeps shooting it down. You know, I believe that we do have resources. I always know somebody's not being honest about wanting to be green when they don't talk about nuclear energy. The one thing that is the cheapest maybe not initially to build, right? But as far as the form of energy when it's built, in the cleanest, according to CO2, zero CO2. And I think that if somebody's serious about it, they wouldn't be talking just about, more solar panels and this and that. They'd be talking about nuclear energy. I think Arizona should take the lead on that. And I think just recently, somebody who I wholly disagree on pretty much everything, every topic you can think of, Bill Gates, actually spoke about how the United States needs to go green with nuclear energy. Something I'd like to see Arizona take the lead on. Unfortunately, our energy that we currently have nuclear, about 70% of it's sold off to California. So we don't utilize a lot of that here. There's a lot of advancements in regards to nuclear energy that I think the size of 3 suitcases can power all of Flagstaff. Geothermally cool. There's a lot of new stuff that's out there that I would love to see Arizona at least take a look at and start implementing in. Again, we can't just jump into it. Hey, you can't use this form of energy, like the Biden administration foolishly did, cutting off oil and gas and then saying, oh, we're going to use just electric cars. Well, what's going to charge the car? And you see a generator charging the electric that's charging the car, with gas. So it's completely foolish. There has to be some type of transition if that is going to be the case. But again, I'm a big oil and gas guy. I haven't bought into that we're killing the earth. I can show data to support what I say. But again, I would like to sit in a room with experts from both sides. I don't want to hear just one. I want to hear both sides, and let's have a discussion. Let's have a debate, and let's lay it all out there, because that's the best way. We're going to take the information in, get it to our people, and say, here, present it all, and say, here's what it is. What do you guys like? Let me hear it from you. And then I can take that back to the legislature. It's a process. I'm not here to be quick with it. I'm here to do it right. Much like our elections, I don't care necessarily how fast it is. I want it done right. I want quality, not quantity. And that's the same thing with this. We definitely, I believe, can be a leader in nuclear. And I would like to see that here in Arizona.
And with the broad-based aspect of it, wanted to hear from different sides on things. Does that apply to water as well? Because there are folks who are, I remember when Governor Ducey was in office, he went to Israel to try to figure out what they're doing, obviously a very desert climate. But then there are people also who've been concerned lately about Saudi Arabia and some of their relationship to some of the water that we have here. Would you be open to all sorts of different ideas on water as well?
Well, yeah, that's the one thing I did like that happened here in Arizona in regards to the alfalfa. With that whole water situation, it's crazy to me to think that we even allowed that to happen to begin with, and allowing any foreign nation to own something in Arizona, to me, is just insane to me. So, I think there's other paths that we can, relationships that we can have with foreign nations that would not require them to have ownership. And you hear about the Chinese buying farmland around bases in particular, and that kind of thing. Why would any sane person be okay with that? And we just got to put a stop to it. We need people with it's just a common sense issue for me. And I think it's something, again, we got to get in a room and we got to talk. We got to start communicating, because that doesn't happen enough. And it doesn't happen, honestly, within the Republican Party. And I don't like talking in a bubble all the time. I like to talk to people who don't agree with me. And I find that more fun, because I'll just bring facts, and they better bring facts. And you always hear facts over feelings. I'm a huge believer in facts over feelings, because, yeah, you might feel like that, but why? What are the facts supporting that opinion? And then we start coming to kind of a reality, right? It comes to a reality of the situation, with what's real, what's not, what's true, what's not, what's factual. But you got to have those conversations, or nothing's going to get accomplished.
Well, Mr. Barnett, thanks for talking to me tonight. Do you have a minute or so for your final closing statement here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. It's important to remember that the upcoming elections will impact a bunch of crucial issues. If Democrats are elected, we're going to have open borders. We're going to have late-term abortions up till birth. You're going to have election illegalities like we've been having. Nothing's going to be fixed. You're going to have your school choice and ESA program completely eliminated, alongside the high inflation, preference to illegal immigrants over American citizens. But in contrast, maintaining a Republican majority will protect our borders, ensure legally run elections, secure our borders, mitigate the inflation that we've been seeing, and uphold legal immigration. If you value secure borders, legally run elections, and you support ESA school choice programs, I'm humbly asking for your vote to be your next state senator in District 2. I just want to thank you for everybody out there. Feel free to reach out to me anytime, ask questions. I make myself available 24/7. You can reach me at barnettforaz.com and reach me directly through there. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And I look forward to hearing from everybody. And I want to say thank you and God bless you.
Mr. Barnett, thanks again. That concludes our debate. And to voters, I want to thank all of you who took the time to watch the debate and inform yourselves before the July 30th primary election. We encourage you to visit azcleanelections.gov. That's azcleanelections.gov for official, accurate voting information. Thanks again. I'm Steve Goldstein.